In today's episode, I'm going to rank the best brokers for Canadians who are interested in day trading the U.S. equities market. Now, the U.S. and Canada approach investing into the market a little bit differently. Here in the United States, we have something that's called the pattern day trader rule, the PDT rule for short, and it states that you need to maintain a minimum account balance of $25,000 in order to day trade with a margin account. Canada has no such rule. So here's the problem. If you're Canadian and you try to come open an account here in the United States, you will end up subjecting yourself to the $25,000 minimum because even though you're not a US resident, all US broker-dealers are required to enforce this rule on all of their customers. So by default, most Canadians will probably be more inclined to open an account with a Canadian broker-dealer or with an international broker-dealer. Now, another thing that's a little bit different between the US and Canada is that in the United States, in order to trade in the market, you have to open an account with a registered broker-dealer, whereas in Canada, a lot of regular banks like RBC, Scotiabank, or TD Bank will allow you to invest in the market. But it would be a mistake to think that a very successful day trader would be using just their regular checking account or bank account to trade in the market, because those bank platforms they're not super sophisticated. They're not designed for people that are trading as quickly as most active day traders are, and their fees and commissions will be more expensive. So in this episode, I'm gonna rank the best brokers for Canadians who are really interested in actively day trading the market, not just taking a position and holding it for months or potentially years. This is my broker comparison sheet of all the brokers I've done platform demos of and giving you my honest review of. Now, sadly, most of these platforms do not accept Canadian customers. In fact, there's only 5 of them that do. The reason is because in Canada, payment for order flow is banned. You're not allowed to do payment for order flow. What is payment for order flow? So payment for order flow is what allows commission-free trading to exist here in the United States, but a lot of countries don't allow it. The way it works, just to give you a crash course, is you're here, this is you, this is your broker, and this is the exchange right over here. So traditionally, you place your buy order, the broker sends it to the exchange, they get the shares back, and they go back to you. The broker charges you a commission of, let's just say, $9.99 per trade, because the exchange charges the broker a fee right here. Oops, not free, a fee. They charge them a fee to send the order through the exchange. Now, over the years, brokers developed this relationship with a third-party wholesaler. These wholesalers are market makers or institutional traders, and what they said is, hey, can we buy all of this order flow from you? You send it to us, and you won't pay a fee. In fact, we'll pay you. And the broker says, that's excellent. You pay us, we can get rid of commissions over here, and that increases trading volume. As trading volume goes up, more shares go here, the broker makes more money. So the problem is that the exchange is being bypassed. And the way these wholesalers make money is on every trade that goes through, they're able to split the penny. And so they're able to make a fraction of a penny per share on every share that goes through. And that's produced profit in the tune of billions of dollars. But that process, payment for order flow, that practice is not allowed in Canada. So Canadians are not allowed to open accounts with US broker-dealers that engage in payment for order flow. So some US broker-dealers, however, understanding that there is demand in Canada to trade the US equities markets, have created essentially a Canadian branch that doesn't do payment for order flow. But the Canadian branch charges commission. It's back to the kind of old-fashioned model that we used to have here in the United States. So I actually created a second tab on this sheet just for the Canadian brokers. We only have 5 of them. Now, these are the 5 that I thought were good enough to even consider doing a review on, and really the ones that would be good enough for me to consider using with real money if I was in Canada. These are the only ones that I would consider. And I'm going to give all of them a raw score and share with you which one I think is the best. But let's start with a couple points of comparison. So number 1, let's start with minimum account size. So what we know is here in the United States, we've got the minimum account size of what? $25,000. That's expensive. So on these 5 brokers, and Interactive Brokers is actually on here twice because they have 2 different platforms. So I'll talk about those in a moment. But in Canada, these 5 options, In terms of account size, minimum account size is down here, row 18, at Ocean One Securities, which is located in the Bahamas, $1,000. That's your minimum account size. Trade Zero Canada, $500. Webull Canada, $0. There's no minimum fee. It's whatever, no minimum account size, whatever you want to put in. Centerpoint Canada, $30,000. Whoa, that's a lot of money. Interactive Brokers, there's nothing. It's whatever you want to put in. So the nice thing here is that you have 4 brokers where you could fund an account with basically $1,000 or possibly a little bit less. Centerpoint is very expensive compared to these. Now, Centerpoint has its perks. There are some things that are appealing about Centerpoint, but it is a more expensive broker. We'll get into the comparison of what makes it more appealing in a moment, but just on the point of minimum account size, they are going to be the highest. All right, so what's the next important point of comparison? How about commissions, right? Commissions and fees. So if you were in the US, you would have commission-free trading, potentially, depending on which broker you decide to use. But in Canada, that's not an option. So these brokers all charge commissions. The cheapest is Webull. Webull Canada charges $2.99 per trade. This is their US market, Canadian, Webull Canada, $2.99 per trade. And it doesn't matter if you buy 1 share or you buy 20,000 shares, it's $2.99 per trade. So if you're a trader who focuses on trading penny stocks, then for you, Webull could be great because you could buy 25,000 shares and it's only $2.99. However, if you're a trader focusing on trading the S&P 500, you're trading Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon, you're trading higher priced stocks where you might only be buying 10 shares or 50 or 100 shares, then you would actually probably want a per share commission structure. The way the per share commission structure works is you have a rate and then you pay that rate multiplied by the number of shares that you're trading. So let's look at Centerpoint. Centerpoint's commission structure is 0.0045. That means it's $4.50 for 1,000 shares. However, if you trade only 100 shares, it would only be 45 cents. So if you're trading with smaller size, like 100 shares, then 45 cents is certainly cheaper than $2.99 over at Webull. But if you're trading with ultimately anything less than 500 shares, then Centerpoint Canada is going to be more expensive than Webull. Okay, so they're more expensive on the minimum account size and they're more expensive on the commission, at least if you're trading more than 1,000 shares, which I certainly am, but the case may be different for you. Interactive brokers, their commission appears cheaper at 0.005, which would be only 0.0005, which would be only 50 cents for 1,000 shares. However, they have an additional fee that they charge right here for routing your order to the exchange. Remember how we talked about that routing fee. So when it's all said and done, the commission for 1,000 shares is going to be about $2. $20 for 10,000 shares and $200 if you traded 100,000 shares. Okay, so definitely cheaper than Centerpoint Canada, but also quite a bit more expensive than Webull. Trade Zero and Ocean One, these two brokers are similar in that they have per share commission structure. Trade Zero has a per share commission of 0.005, which means 1,000 shares would be $5, 10,000 shares would be $50, and 100,000 shares would be $500. However, they also offer commission-free trading on non-marketable limit orders. A non-marketable limit order, and I'll pull up a trading platform right here. This platform that you're looking at right here is called DAS Trader, and this is the software that you can use with Ocean One, with Centerpoint, and with Interactive Brokers. So 3 of these brokers allow you to use the same exact software, which is pretty cool. So it makes you sort of broker agnostic because you could just switch brokers. If your broker changed their commission, you could say, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to switch to the other one, but you're using the same exact software. You just change where you log in and log out, where it's connected to. So that's kind of nice. But let me show you what it looks like to do a commission-free trade at Trade Zero. So at Trade Zero, any non-marketable order, any non-marketable limit order is going to be commission-free, which means if I place an order to buy this stock, Ford, at $9.22, and I put the buy button, put the buy order right there at $9.22, the current price is $9.23. So this is a non-marketable limit order, which means it's going to sit at the market and wait for someone to come and sell me shares. So when I execute an order like that, I'm actually adding liquidity to the market that someone else can use. So my order's there, and if someone wants to sell, they can use my order to sell. So that person who sells would be taking liquidity, and I would be adding liquidity to the market. So at Trade Zero, when you add liquidity, you get commission-free trading. But when you take liquidity, you pay the fee. So if I buy right here 10 shares at $9.24, I'll press the buy button, and that order executes immediately. It's a marketable order, which means I executed at market price, and that's an order where I would pay a commission. Now, if I sell it right here at $9.23, once again, I'm going to pay a commission on that because it was a marketable order. So for me, 75% of my orders are marketable orders, which means I'm only going to get free trading on 25% of my orders. So realistically, if this is the rate times 0.75, so it will do equal sum. So would I get a little bit of a discount? For me, yes, I would get a little bit of a discount, but not a lot. So, it would be $375 for 1,000 shares, $37.50 for 10,000, and $375 for 100,000 shares. It's less than Centerpoint Canada, but it's more than Ocean One and more than Interactive Brokers, and certainly more than Webull. But this could vary depending on your trading strategy and how you choose to execute your orders. But if you're like me and you're trying to get in and get out quickly, the way I trade is when I want to get in, I want to get in, so I'm going to use marketable orders to buy. And when I want to get out, that's when I start using the non-marketable orders to wait for someone to come and buy my shares. But I still only do that on like 25% of my orders. Now, by the way, if you want to learn more about my day trading strategy, I will put a link. It'll be pinned at the top of the comments and linked in the description where you could download my small account worksheet. And that's going to walk you through the strategy that I trade every single day. It'll break down my process of managing risk, choosing the strongest stocks to trade, and where I actually get in and get out. Okay, so you can check that out if you're interested. Now, back over here to, so this was Trade Zero, and now we've got Ocean One Securities. So Ocean One Securities is a little bit more expensive than Interactive Brokers, but only marginally. And Interactive Brokers, for what it's worth, is a much more established broker. They've been around for a long time. So this is a broker that I would feel really comfortable with a couple of exceptions that I'll share with you in just a moment. Okay, so now we've looked at these brokers from the perspective of minimum account size and commissions. And I think for both of these, sadly, Centerpoint, we already kind of looked at it. Centerpoint is the most expensive on commissions, and they're the highest minimum account balance. We'll make that a little bit of a darker red. And the cheapest for commissions is Webull Canada, which is great. And the most expensive is Centerpoint. So right now, Webull is actually looking pretty darn good in this comparison. So what's the next thing that we might want to look at? I would say number 3 is execution speed. And in fact, execution speed is so important to me that I'm willing to pay more money and even have a larger account if it gives me faster executions. Because my strategy is to trade breaking news. So when breaking news comes out, I want to be in immediately. And that means if I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs, waiting for my order to execute, I'm not making money. That's not acceptable. And that's the number one reason that most Canadians would not want to trade through their banks using, Scotiabank, RBC, or TD or Questrade. You would generally find that those are going to be too slow in the order execution. It's just not going to work for you if you're trying to trade fast-moving markets. And most of us who are active day traders are. So really the only bad thing that we could say about Webull is that they're slow. That's the biggest disadvantage of Webull. So there's 2 issues with Webull that I've had. Number 1 is that the order execution is slow. And by slow, they're within what's considered reasonable, but for someone that's a fast-moving day trader like myself, they're on the slower side. In fact, they were the slowest of any of the other brokers that I tested and compared to over on this sheet. The only one actually that tied them was E-Trade. So both of them were really quite slow, significantly slower than a direct access broker. So there's no question that Centerpoint, uh, Centerpoint and Ocean One are going to be the fastest. There's just no question about it. These are very fast brokers. They are going to be a bit more expensive. Centerpoint is going to be the most expensive here, but they're both really fast. Webull is just not as fast. They also don't offer direct routing. So they use what's called smart routing, and that's what TradeZero uses as well. So the problem with smart routing is that smart routing will send your order to the markets generally in the way that is best for the broker. And that's part of why the commission is cheaper, because they've arranged a relationship that reduces your commission. So it's sort of a trade-off, right? You pay lesser commission, but the routing is going to be, well, it's going to be the way it's determined by the broker. So the issue there is that that's not always what's going to be in the best interest for you to get the fastest execution speed or even the best execution price. So if you want control over those things, you can have it, but you got to pay for it. And that's what you get at Interactive Brokers, Centerpoint, and Ocean One. Now at TradeZero, you don't get that. You only get smart routing. So TradeZero, in some ways, you could say it's the best of both worlds in that you could get commission-free trading, and then you could get, well, it's not really the best of both worlds. It's almost the worst of both worlds because you get commission-free trading, but only on select order types that most active traders like myself don't use. And then you don't get direct access routing because it's smart routing and you pay the higher fee. So actually, but you do get pretty fast execution generally. So TradeZero is not going to rank super well on this comparison. We'll give it a score, but it's not going to actually, I don't think, rank super well. Now, Ocean One is going to rank well because the execution speed is super fast. Now, I have looked at the execution speed that other traders have sent me. I don't have an Ocean One account, but I've asked people to send me their orders so I can look at it, I can time it, and it is quick. It is on par with what I expect from a direct access broker. So really fast execution speed here, really fast with Centerpoint. And then Interactive Brokers is interesting because while you do get direct access routing, it's not as fast. And I don't really understand why that is, but it's just not as fast. So I could actually pull up a stock here. This is my Interactive Brokers account. So we'll do AIFF. We'll just find, oh my goodness. AIFF, enter. Okay, so I'm gonna do shift 1. So I'm in 10 shares there. Now 20. You can see how it kind of lagged there. So, I mean, it's not, it takes a second. It takes a little bit of a second, right? And then all out. Look, maybe I'm being nitpicky and you're gonna say, Ross, that is totally fine for me. And you know what? If it's fine for you, then by all means, that's what you should use. But I don't want to tell you to change what's, if you've got a routine that's working. And the thing that I will say about Interactive Brokers that's worth noting is that they are a well-established broker-dealer that's been around for a long time. Ocean One is new. They have not been around for very long. So that's one possible issue. TradeZero has been around for a while. Centerpoint's been around for a while. Webull Canada is a big company. So of all of these companies in terms of sort of the stability, I would feel most confident with Interactive Brokers, Webull, and Centerpoint. In terms of putting, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, big accounts. If I was going to trade in a $500 account or a $1,000 account, I'd be totally fine with using a smaller broker like Ocean One or TradeZero. No problem there. But I just on general principle, smaller brokers, I would just generally use for smaller accounts, and these bigger, more established brokers, I'd be more comfortable with larger account balances. So, all right, so we've looked at minimum account size, commissions, and execution speed. So based on execution speed, we're gonna rank Ocean One as, I'm gonna put this at the top, even though I don't have it listed in there. I'm gonna put that one at the top. I'm gonna put this one right next to it. This one, from my own experience, I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna put it as a time, I'm just gonna say reasonably fast, but not the fastest. All right, and I'm gonna say very fast and very fast. Okay, So now this gives you a little bit more context at why Webull maybe wouldn't be the absolute best. Okay, but we've got a couple other points of comparison here. So we've got the minimum account size, the commission, the fee, the execution speed, and now let's talk about leverage. Okay, so back on the screen share here, we actually have to update the leverage here because TradeZero Canada actually doesn't offer 6 times. They offer only 3 times for Canadians in TradeZero Canada. Webull offers 2 times leverage, but requires $2,000 in the account. And Centerpoint Canada offers 3 times leverage, and Interactive Brokers is 3 times leverage. So it's a little bit lower than in the United States where we get 4 times leverage, and certainly lower than Ocean One Securities in the Caribbean or in the Bahamas where you get 6 times leverage. So this now paints, a little bit of a different picture. Now Webull is, it looks still good. 2 times leverage is not bad, but certainly it's not 6 times leverage. So, this helps kind of paint a picture a little bit differently. Okay, let's look at another point of comparison. So another point of comparison that I think is important, we've got the minimum account size, we've got the commissions, the execution speed, we've got the leverage, and let's jump over, we'll just keep going down here on this. We'll just go number 5. I'll make room for these in a second. 3, 2, 1. So number 5 is short selling. Okay, so if you're a short seller, and that means you profit on stocks that decline, you would need a broker that has a good inventory of shares available to borrow. And this is where Centerpoint Canada really shines. They've got great availability of shares to borrow, and the cost is low. So this is really solid. In fact, while TradeZero has great short inventory, their cost to borrow is a little bit higher than Centerpoint. Webull Canada, they don't have great inventory. Ocean One, good, but cost is medium. Interactive Brokers, good, not great for small caps. The cost is lower, but they don't have great inventory for small caps. So if you're a short seller, Centerpoint really starts to shine right here when it comes to availability of shares to borrow. So now the next important point that we want to look at is platform stability and the desktop experience. So for me, in order to consider using one of these brokers with real money as my primary account, I need to make sure that the software is going to allow me to trade the way I want to trade. So in fact, really, that can be achieved with all of these platforms. And that's probably one of the best things you have going for you as Canadians, because a lot of these brokers in the United States, a lot of them fall short in some of these important areas. Charles Schwab with Thinkorswim, TradeStation, E-Trade, IBKR Lite, Fidelity, Robinhood. These platforms really, for me, for my purposes, are not effective. I just wouldn't be able to trade with them. But for you guys, that each one of these brokers has an option for a platform that can work. The only one is Interactive Brokers Trader Workstation. And that was the platform that I showed you just a moment ago. This is the Trader Workstation platform, which has been around for forever. And it's very minimally updated over all these years. And the problem with this platform for me is that, number one, like I said, I think the order execution is a little slow relative to what I would like. But equally concerning is that I can't sell a position based on a percentage. So let's say, for instance, I'm holding a position here on Ford. We'll just do 100 shares. We'll buy it. So I buy 100 shares of this, and it looks like I got filled at 26. So this is really interesting because right now I'm sort of filling it. Even though I put the order at 27, I'm filling at weird prices. But anyways, so I'm in at 26. Let's say I want to sell half of that position. Well, over at Trader Workstation, you would have to manually type in 50 shares. And here I can press a button, a hotkey for Control X, and it sells half my position just like that, and the order's gone. Another half position, gone. So what I can do under the hotkey menu is I can go into these hotkeys, and I can actually script them to sell based on a percentage of my position. And I can do 50% of the position, or I could do 25% or 75% or 80%. You can do whatever you want. A very unusual percentage. It's fine. You get to choose. So this is highly customizable for your needs. And I think that is awesome. So with Ocean One, with Centerpoint, and with Interactive Brokers, you can use DAS Trader. The only problem is that if you want to use DAS Trader with Interactive Brokers, it's going to cost you extra money. So Interactive Brokers will allow you to use DAS Trader right here. You go to the DAS Trader website, go to Interactive Brokers, but to use the level that I use, it's $175 a month. $175 a month, that's not cheap. So Trader Workstation, on the other hand, is free with the exception of what you pay for market data. Webull is free with the exception of like $12 for market data. And using DAS Trader with Ocean One and Centerpoint is a market data fee. So if you were set on using Interactive Brokers, personally, I would just pay the extra money to use DAS Trader. However, there's one other problem with Interactive Brokers. And the other problem with Interactive Brokers is a little rule called Rule 144. Rule 144 states that if you are an affiliate of a company, there are restrictions on trading that stock. So an affiliate of the company means that you're in a relationship with someone who has a position of control of that company. And so if your spouse is on the board of directors or you are on the board of directors, you're an affiliate of that company, you're restricted on how much stock you can sell during any 3-month period. And the restriction is you can't sell more than 1% of the total shares outstanding, which is probably not an issue for day traders. But you also wouldn't be able to sell more than 1% of the average volume over the last 4 weeks. Now that's actually a problem because something that we see very often is that a stock will have basically no volume, maybe 100,000 shares of volume a day, and then all of a sudden has breaking news and could have 300 million shares of volume in one day. However, the average weekly volume for the last 4 weeks is still only 100,000 shares, which means if you sell more than 1% of 100,000 shares, it's a very small position, all of a sudden you're going to get flagged. What's going to happen with Interactive Brokers is they're not going to allow you to sell the stock, even if you just bought it. They're not going to allow you to sell it until you confirm with their compliance team that you are not an affiliate of the company. Now, I've talked to traders who have gone through this, and some of them have said it was the compliance department was able to resolve it within 45 minutes. But for other people, they said it took hours. So that means you're holding a position for hours and you can't sell. That is a major problem. So let's just pull up a highly volatile stock. Look at this stock today. This stock has had a big range today, hit a high of $10 a share, maybe a little higher, came all the way back down. Imagine being stuck holding this position for hours and you can't get out. You can't get out because compliance is just slow to get back to you. So that is something that is only a problem at Interactive Brokers. It's not an issue at Centerpoint, Webull, TradeZero, or Ocean One. Okay, so let's give these brokers a Ross score. As of right now, anything less than a 5, I would not use with real money. Interactive Brokers, I would not use with real money for me personally because I trade small caps, and that's because of Rule 144. If they get rid of Rule 144 and don't assume you're an affiliate, when of course you're not, then I would give them an 8. I would actually say that they're the best. And the reason I would say that they're the best is because their executions are reasonably fast, but they're also a very well-established broker-dealer. They've been around for a really long time, and I feel very comfortable depositing $200,000, $500,000, $1 million into an Interactive Brokers account. No problem. So this would be my top choice if not for Rule 144. Now, because of Rule 144, it drops to a 4.9, meaning it's below a 5, and I wouldn't use it with real money. Centerpoint Canada. Centerpoint Canada for me is a 6.5. I would use it with real money, but for me, why pay the extra money on the borrowing, on the commissions when I'm not a short seller? So it's going to be more expensive, and it doesn't really make sense unless you're a short seller. So if you're a short seller with a larger account, Centerpoint's great. If you're not, it doesn't really make sense. Webull Canada, I could be convinced to use this platform because the commissions are so low. This could be a great platform. but it would depend on whether or not I had issues with execution speed. Now, I will say that Webull is a Canadian company. I'm sorry, Canadian. They're a Chinese company. So they have a Canadian branch. They have branches all around the world, but they're owned by a Chinese holding company. Some people have a problem with that, so I just thought I'd put that out there. But anyway, so Webull is a Chinese company, but that doesn't really bother me. I have an account with Webull in the United States, and that didn't bother me. Their commissions are low. My real question would be whether or not the orders were fast enough. Because when I used Webull here in the United States, the orders were a little bit slower, and I got flagged for taking too big of a position, and they wouldn't let me sell unless I broke it into smaller orders. And so and that was only a 6,000 share position, but it was after hours on a breaking news stock. So Webull for me in the United States is not ideal. In fact, this is kind of tricky. I would say if you have a small account, this could be a great platform for you because the commissions are so low. Yes, the order execution's a little slower, but I really think I'm going to say this is really excellent for smaller accounts. Emphasis on smaller accounts. If I had a larger account, I'd probably use Centerpoint or Interactive Brokers. Again, except for the Rule 144. So then you've got Trade Zero. Trade Zero, commission free, but only sort of. And then it's more expensive. They do have fast execution, much faster than Webull. And a lot of people, if you're a short seller, really like it because they have good availability of shares to borrow, but the borrowing fees are a little more expensive. So what's the advantage? Lower account minimum. Yeah, that's nice. 3 times leverage. Okay. And then you've got Ocean One. Ocean One is kind of the winner here. They're also Chinese ownership. It's a non-PDT broker for US and Canadian and other international traders. Commissions, certainly more expensive than Webull, but you get 6 times leverage. You can have a relatively small account. It's a pretty compelling offering. So this is how I would rank them right now. For me, right now, if I was going to set up a $100,000 account with one of these brokers, which one would I choose? I would choose Centerpoint. I would, because I would just they're a well-established company that's been around for a long time, and yes, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but I would probably choose Centerpoint. If I was going to trade with a $5,000 to $10,000 account, I would use Ocean One. The commissions are going to be cheaper, and in fact, I might even prefer to use a $5,000 account with Ocean One versus a $100,000 account with Centerpoint because I get the leverage. So I get essentially, even with a $15,000 account times 6, you have virtually $100,000 of buying power. Now, granted, a $100,000 account here would give you $300,000 in buying power, but that's probably more than anyone needs. So the reason I chose $100,000 was just to say, if I set up a large account, which broker would I be most comfortable with putting a large amount of money with? And it would be Centerpoint Canada or Interactive Brokers Canada. Smaller accounts, Ocean One, Trade Zero. And Webull, I would use a larger account, except that they restricted selling. And I'll just make a note on this. Restricted selling on large positions. So that was an issue. All right. So this is the way we rank them right now. I would love to hear your feedback. Maybe there's another broker that I didn't put on this comparison that I didn't think met the standard for me, but maybe you think is good. Maybe you've had experiences with some of these brokers and you'd like to share what that experience was. Please, by all means, throw the comments down there. Let me know what you think. Capital Markets Elite Group, this is a broker that people use for quite a long time. They no longer, as I understand, accept Canadians. If that's changed, someone's heard different, by all means, you let me know. And if you want me to do another platform demo, please let me know in the comments. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you subscribe to the channel. And if you want to download my small account worksheet, the link will be pinned to the top comment and in the bottom or the very top of the description. All right, I'll see you for the next upload real soon.